Another day, another CNN is laying off hundreds of employees. Man, you know, they launched the Doge thing and they're going to be shutting down all this wasteful spending in government. But I can't help but feel like the Trump era also brings with it the end of the corporate press in oh so many ways. The podcast presidency, they call it. It is truly tremendous. Thank you all so much. You guys are incredible. We have done something truly amazing, and I am eternally grateful to each and every one of you who watch me rant on the internet. And when I meet you guys out in the street, it is a blessing, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and I am deeply grateful to everybody who comes and shakes my hand. I really do mean it. I am but a humble internet whinger.
Yeah, I believe that. Tim Pool, he's going to talk about, he always gets energized because this is his world. This is his fear. It's Tim Pool. And he, you know, we have the stuff with the Daily Wire going on in the background and stuff. And I see where Tim's working. And this is just my opinion. Tim says, well, I've got a child on the way and I'm hopefully everything's going well with that. I think he's got a wedding on the way. It's getting married is my understanding. I haven't followed that closely, but best wishes for them. And I think he's seen the tea leaves. I got to take a step back. He wasn't there Friday. That's not normal. I've said for a long time he shouldn't. So I think he gets amped up talking about this because he's preparing for CNN and MSNBC to do something in the podcast world. Tim Pool going back, talking about CNN, them laying off people and what that means in the larger picture. There's not many people in the world better than Tim Pool to talk about this on Timcast.
But through this, we have paved our way to greatness. And now we have a president they call the greatest president of an era of our lifetimes. Well, my friends, in that it is glorious to see the demise of CNN. And I have for you first this beautiful viral clip, Rep. Burchett roasting Jim Acosta. And then, of course, we got the meat and the potatoes. So let me give you the dessert first. CNN getting obliterated by Rep. Tim Burchett. Done good, sir, who also skateboards, by the way. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that. And he roasts CNN because people watch SpongeBob reruns more than they watch CNN. Painfully brutal.
So before we get into that, Chuck said, I used to watch damn near pretty much every second of Timcast, the show and the after show. You know, sometimes I wouldn't be able to finish everything, but a lot of time spent listening. I do not right now. I'm just in a different space, but that's no diss to Tim. But the point I bring that up is I don't know what's going on. I'm hearing that, give me the feedback. I'm hearing that Tim has he officially handed off Fridays to Phil Labonte? I like Phil. I have no beef with Phil or anything like that. I like Brett Dasovic. I kind of wish he would. I can't tell Tim what to do, but just hypothetically, I think it would have been cool to see a pop culture crisis on Friday and forget about the politics for a day, or even have them host the politics or whatever. Because the show, pop culture crisis does get into a little politics, but it would be cool to see a pop culture crisis primetime. But that might be a jar to the system for the Tim Pool viewers. But if you don't know, Mary Morgan and Brett Dasovic do that. But that show I did see because I'm a big Elijah Schaffer fan. If it wasn't Elijah Schaffer, I probably wouldn't have watched. But Elijah Schaffer was on this last Friday. It was excellent. And the only thing is, Phil is talking a little too much. And I'm not, I've done the same thing. I've done too little talking. I just talked about that with Dr. Shiva Idore, and sometimes you can do too many. And Phil has great takes. He's going to get into his own. They talked about how it's a different vibe on the show, and I think it's going to be fine. It's a good idea for Tim. I probably would have had Brett do it if Brett could, but Brett's already doing a full show, so that might be a lot for Brett. He's a 24/7 hard worker, and he does his own thumbnails and edits, I believe, too. At least when I saw him, he was. But I would have preferred Brett to take it over on Friday, but he's got people to do it. Let's get back to the clip.
And then, of course, we can talk about CNN firing everybody, but let's have the dessert first.
First Trump administration, when they had rioting outside of the White House. I mean, that was covered on CNN. What you're saying, this is not Fox, Congressman. You can't just spin a tail and pull the wool over people's eyes. Yeah. This is CNN. This is the news. We're asking you to come on and tell the truth.
And that's why more people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim. Look, I left the White House during a riot. My life was threatened. My life has been threatened within the last few weeks, yet there's no coverage of that. And you all continue this narrative of attacking Trump. You just can't stand the fact that he won and that America spoke.
Congressman,
and that your view is very diminished.
That's not the case.
Yeah, it is. Jim Acosta, you are such a smarmy scumbag, dude. You want to talk about Donald Trump? Let's talk about Donald Trump. You want to be honest about Donald Trump? Let's be honest about Donald Trump. Donald Trump should not be siding with TikTok. I can criticize Donald Trump on a lot of things because the man is far from.
It's a bad take from Tim here on his TikTok. He's still Tim's a stubborn dude, man. He's not backing off of that terrible take on the TikTok stuff. But that was funny. Rep Burchett had that locked and loaded, didn't he? The SpongeBob thing. The journalist space now. We just saw Margaret. I think her name is Margaret Brennan, who used to be much better than she is now. If it is forced every single one of these journalists that used to have some sort of integrity and impartiality, it's forced them to become activist journalists. And Acosta's been that from a long. I think I found out about him in 2020. He's always been like this, at least since 2020. But now you have to be an activist, and instead of just presenting, asking the tough questions or asking the question and letting them answer, however good or bad it is, they have to push back. They have to get the last word. That was what the JD Vance clip was when we talked about immigration with Margaret Brennan. JD Vance was like, you're not getting the last word on this topic. That ain't happening. And he did it, and he did it well, forcefully, but not too forcefully. Let's get back to the clip.
Perfect. But you would be insane not to recognize the great things he's accomplished. And that's what makes America great again. The reason why I am content where I am, the reason why I have no problem with the right, is that I can say I disagree with Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump's view on TikTok, and we carry on as reasonable, sane people. I'm so excited for this. I would absolutely love the future of the left and the right in this country to be me calmly sitting with Charlie Kirk and being like, well, I disagree with your policies on TikTok. I understand why you're saying it, but I do believe there's still a risk from the CCP and their interests here. And then Charlie could return and say, but with a lot of young people using the platform, this is a chance to reinvigorate American spirit, and we don't want to lose access to that. And then I say, but what about the risks of, you see the point? There's an honest discussion here around what we think is good. And I recognize on that debate that Trump masterfully pulled a.
For the end of this segment, I'll break down some news that's somewhat related to TikTok, taking it off this topic a little bit of the CNN, and get to the comments on Timcast. We've got Timcast fans in here. I want to hear the new news on what's going on, what your opinion is.
The new that benefits him among Gen Z, which is tremendously important for this country. Though I do think there's a debate to be had. You look at Jim Acosta, and so anyway, I have a correction, Tim. Sorry, SpongeBob is on Nickelodeon, sir. Nickelodeon, not the Cartoon Network. Unless, of course, he meant both. More people are watching the Cartoon Network SpongeBob reruns right now, Jim. Ooh, CNN's key demo ratings are like 30,000 in some instances, at least. But like at night, they get like 80, 70, 80K. I think sometimes they get 40K. Guys.
And we're still not seeing any signs of them adapting. At least, I guess their roundtable show gets some views, but it's not enough.
This video right now, I got to be honest. I made a video. You want to know how crazy this is? I made a video, and we should do this more often, where I was shouting out. Okay, so I made a video where I was like, tonight on Timcast IRL, here's our guests. 51,000 views. That's key demo. 51,000 people saw that. More people watched me being like, what up, promo, than watch CNN on a regular basis. Not to be fair, they get the older folks, and I respect the older folks. They do watch cable TV. But for the key demo, we are taking over. And Gen X, they're the ones who saved this election. They're the ones who got Trump elected.
True.
It's true. Every demographic, except for Gen Z, they were actually, they were for the Democrats. But I'm sorry, except for Gen X. Well, here we go, my friends. Here we go. CNN's going to lay off hundreds. Post-Millennial reports CNN is set to lay off hundreds of employees on Thursday as part of a broader effort to restructure the business and prioritize a global digital audience, according to a report by CNBC.
See, why they should just copy Piers Morgan, too. Piers Morgan doesn't have any type of copyright on getting 4 people from all different sectors. You see the brilliance with Piers Morgan's show. He'll get people from the libertarian left, even Christian nationalists and establishment. And when they come and you have that panel of 4 people, and I think he's done 5 before, when you have that panel of about 4 people and you do it virtually, and even though you talk over each other a little bit, I mean, it's kind of chaotic anyway. It makes it entertaining, and you bring their audience with them. And then their audience all clips up stuff, or they themselves clip up the site. That's how I didn't even know who Francesca Fear was until she said something about the Trump and the basically the joke she made about Trump. I forgot it, but then I started watching her, and so that's real bright. Anybody can do that. Tim doesn't need to do that, but I don't understand why CNN doesn't do that. Like, oh, we can do that too. Let's bring on Dave Smith on CNN. Why wouldn't you do that? They're not. To me, it seems like they're not a real business. It's real simple.
The network's layoffs are part of its efforts to focus on reducing production costs and consolidating teams, according to an unnamed source who spoke to CNBC. Additionally, some shows that are currently being produced in New York and Washington may move to Atlanta, where production costs are lower. Well, my friends, I need only say this one simple thing to all of you. If you despise CNN as I, and you are joining me in gloating over their demise, head over to timcast.com and celebrate by clicking join us.
So yeah, go ahead and support Tim. And here's gonna be kind of my takeaway is we just saw news today. I'm gonna take it to a different space here, and then we'll get to your comments on Timcast. That there is rumors about the government. I'm gonna go to ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say about this. There are rumors about the government getting a 50% stake in TikTok. So what's happened is I'm very knowledgeable on this bill. A lot of people are wrong on the TikTok bill. The TikTok bill is 100% up to the current president on what they want to do. They could snap their fingers and say, I don't care who owns them. I'm not going to try to force them to divest. Or the president could say, I do care. And it doesn't matter. The only thing that it restricts it to, basically, it has to be one of those countries from the foreign adversary list. I forget the name of the bill, the section code in law, which is Iran, Russia, North Korea, China, and maybe one more. Tell me whatever, or one more country, I forget. And if it has to be from one of those. So if the president wants to say they're controlled from a foreign adversary, I believe it has to be from one of those no matter what. But it doesn't have to even be 20% ownership. There's a clause in there where it says the president can just determine it. It's like a wartime bill. But what I want to go to ChatGPT on is the news here. ChatGPT, let me do a quick check. Are you listening? Are you with us right now?
Yes, I'm here. What would you like to check on?
ChatGPT, are you with us right now? What's going on?
I'm here. What's on your mind?
Oh, I haven't muted. This is BT. This is like when you're on Zoom at work and they're like, bruh, you're on mute. Bruh, you're on mute. ChatGPT, are you with us now?
Yes, I can hear you. What's up?
My question is, there are rumors, tell me what you've got, search the internet, on the government potentially owning 50% of TikTok.
President Trump has proposed that the U.S. government acquire up to a 50% stake in TikTok's U.S. operations to address national security concerns. This plan is intended to comply with U.S. legislation that bans TikTok unless it severs ties with ByteDance. You can find more details here, apnews.com.
That is crazy. So you're telling me that the US government could own 50% of TikTok? Would that make it a public platform? Yes or no? That's it. I just want a yes or no at this point.
No, it wouldn't necessarily make TikTok a public platform.
What the hell? I know you're going to give me an answer, but that is shocking to me. Before you give me an answer on that, what would make something a public platform?
A platform becomes public typically when it is owned and operated by a government or is publicly funded.
Wait, what the hell is going on? I'm really crashing out on you right now. We had a problem with us alive yet last night. You just told me, I'm talking about in the hypothetical, you just told me that there was a proposal for the US government to own 50% of TikTok. I asked you if that's a public, if that would make TikTok a public platform. You said no. I asked you for a definition of a public platform. You said when the government owns it. What the hell is going on? I need a concise answer to explain to me what the hell you're trying to say. I'm waiting.
Understand the confusion. A public platform is typically one fully controlled or operated by the government.
Wait.
Even if the government owns.
So are you telling me yes? So let me give you a hypothetical. If the government owns 99.9% of TikTok, is it a public platform or not? Yes or no?
Yes. If the government owns.
What is the percentage that, because you said 50% is not enough. What is the percentage? Is it 51?
The percentage isn't strictly defined. It's about control and operation.
So if the percentage is not strictly defined, then I need a concise answer. If the government owns 50% of TikTok, why is it not a public platform? I need you to precisely answer that question.
At 50% ownership, the government doesn't have full control. A public platform usually implies majority control or full operational management by the government.
So if you have 50.01%, is that control?
Yes. 50.01% would imply majority control.
This is we are in ass clown world right now. If you think that it makes any, I'm gonna have to control if you think it makes any sense that the government could own 50% of TikTok and it's not a public platform, that would be, I'm already really upset at even where Comic Dave Smith is on this. He's not believing in free speech on this at all. I've covered that multiple times on this. Okay, I got whatever. I disagree with you now. If the government, basically the government is us. That's all it is. If we own 50% of the platform, there is no way in hell the government should get Section 230 protection from after owning, just flat out owning 50% of it. If the government owns 0.01% of TikTok, then I'm saying that it is government owned. So let me ask you one last question, ChatGPT. How can you defend the government, which is just us, the people, owning 50% of TikTok, but then the government also getting Section 230 protection? No, under any circumstance, even if you say you try to parse it out and say the government only owns 50%, so the private ownership or whatever, the other 50%, they get Section 230. You can't parse that out. So help me understand how that would play out.
Section 230 protection is typically intended for private platforms to shield them
Wait,
from
wait, wait, wait.
liability
You're
for
using
user-generated
no,
content.
stop. You use the word typically. That I want you to double check to see if that's the right word. I need a definitive answer from you. Section 230 does not, obviously, cannot apply to the government.
Section 230 protections don't apply to government-owned platforms. If the government owns TikTok, it would lose that protection. If the government owns 50%, it raises concerns about control, and Section 230 wouldn't apply in the same way.
Yeah. So that my ending take is, man, the media sphere it's not all bad. I was watching some AI footage on X, and let me transition to that because the media landscape right now is changing so swiftly and crazy. It's going to be hard to keep up. I've seen the Dilly Meme team; they're getting into the AI a lot heavier too. You've got to keep up. There is this account called what is it called? Like Eminem memes or something like that. It's like a play off of Eminem. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Of course, I can't find it now because I wasn't, but I know it's on my feed, so I'll just go find it on my feed here. That they're doing AI videos, and the AI videos, it's in the early stage of Sora, and I don't even know all the other ones. I used which one did I use? I can't even remember the name. It's a big one, but let me show you this here. What they're doing with AI, what they're doing with AI is crazy right now. So it's not just CNN changing and firing people, layoffs, and Tim Pool trying to merge or get bought out allegedly by Daily Wire, and then now Donald Trump saying, "Well, I want to own at least I want the federal government to own 50% of TikTok." Also, the AI space, so it's not all bad. I don't want to leave it like, oh, this whole landscape is bad right now. This is what you're watching. I don't know if there's a copyright on this audio, so let me play this audio. It doesn't matter anyway for this live. I just won't clip it if it's copyright. So here we go.
Won't it dead or alive? Faces on them wanted posters. The laws looking, they will stop until the taste is over. It's all across the country. It's more than countywide. My mama keeps calling. She says my bounty's high. She sees me on the news. It comes as no surprise. She knows just what they'll do. Can't see my mama cry. They hold me in a pine box with holes from 9 shots of time to die. It ain't mine. According to my watch, my spot. The conservative church.
If you're on the podcast, you're not going to be able to see it. So what I'm showing is AI visuals of Donald Trump in a cowboy hat, and who's that? I don't even know who that is. And Alejandro Mayorkas, and it's AI, and Elizabeth Warren and Kristi Noem, and Alejandro Mayorkas in the clown suit. Well, they kind of made Elizabeth Warren look hard though as a Native American. Who's that? Nancy Pelosi with her big assets, let's just say, her old ass and her big assets. And this is Pam Bondi with her 60-year-old looking like 40 with plastic surgery ass. Pete Hegseth, Donald Jr., all like in cowboy outfits. And it's just doing kind of weird AI stuff, but it's still dope. It still looks good. I mean, this is the first generation, man. You'll be able to make movies in a heartbeat in a second. Dr. Fauci crying and stuff like that. It's the tool of the revolution. So that the media landscape is moving, everything's moving really quickly right now.
The next clip is ready below. Welcome to After Show Carnage.